Well, hello there, Canucks, and welcome back to Smodcast. I'm Kevin Smith, and I'm here with Scott Mosier. That's right, we're smoking some pot, and we're talking shit about stuff that we don't know anything about, but we did make some movies once, and that means that you have to give us a lot of money and a whole podcasting empire, which we didn't even have to really try to put too much effort into getting because we already had fame.
Because we're rolling in Harvey Weinstein's blood money.
Yeah, so welcome to the fucking Smodcast. Okay, this is a joke. Hi, I'm May Leitz, and I am a psychopath.
I am less of a psychopath and am
bullshit.
Neo.
Bullshit!
Fair enough. And because we're both
Deranged people.
we have spent the last week watching... Like, anytime the TV is on, it's a Kevin Smith movie.
Okay. Let's walk this all the way back, because, there's, so much to cover here. Why did we do this? Okay, I made us watch Clerks because I was having I wasn't even supposed to be here today vibe. And I was like, the only movie I know that really gets that vibe is Clerks. Even if I don't like Clerks very much, I will agree. The only movie that really gets that vibe is Clerks. So let's watch it. We watched it, and then we immediately became fascinated because I was like, did you know that Kevin Smith begins making very bad movies after this moment? And
Yeah.
they were like, fucking bet. So we turned on all of them.
Yeah, so in chronological order of the movies when they came out that we've seen.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into the horror stuff yet, but we
have Clerks,
Mallrats,
Dogma,
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Clerks 2,
and then Dogma.
No, that's 5. We did
Right. It's just like, when did Dogma come out?
Dogma came out after Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Yeah, I want to say it was 99 or 2001 era. 2001. It was 2001, and I know that because there was a significant event that happened in 2001. What the fuck was it? Do you remember there was something that happened in 2001?
I turned 5.
I
came back
to
America from Swaziland.
I remember that. Yeah, I was there.
2 weeks after, I don't know, there's some minor event that didn't really change anything in the world.
Yeah, just something completely minor.
Yeah. That I totally didn't fly immediately after.
Okay, but now jokes aside, these are pre 9/11 comedies, and oh boy, weird times they were. Weird fucking times. Now let's do a little ad read before we get into the paint over here.
We would like to thank our sponsors. The YouTube show Blood Think, the RPG #iHunt,
Hi.
the Etsy store, Ambient Dream Studio. We're going to talk about all of those later on in the show.
Yeah, but first, we gotta...
But first, head over to Patreon. Patreon.com/excrement.
You betcha.
You can give me some money. You can buy ads. You can give me more money.
Ooh.
Buy more ads.
Oh.
Justify me watching 5 fucking Kevin Smith movies.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the psychic damage alone. Okay, no. So, Kevin Smith is not a minor figure in film.
No.
He appears like a minor figure in all of this, but he's a major player in cinema of the last couple of decades, which is funny because he's never been good.
No.
Ever.
He's never made a good movie.
No. I mean, the best that he's gotten is Clerks. So let's talk about Clerks first.
I like Dogma more than Clerks.
Ooh, boy. Okay, let's start with Clerks, though. We got to start with Clerks.
Yes.
Let's do it in chronological order.
All right. And I'm just going to fucking speed run these things. So
okay, well, speed running is fun, but also take your time.
Right.
I mean, but yes.
But we have 5 movies to talk about
In an hour. I mean, that's a lot. So go.
So Clerks is about a dude who works at a little bodega or whatever, little
convenience store.
Yeah, community store, and his job sucks and he hates it. And he spends all of his time hanging around with his best friend, who's this sarcastic, just brutally honest asshole
named Randall.
And he breaks up with his girlfriend to try to pursue this other girlfriend he had, and she ends up fucking a dead guy and is traumatized. And the main character, Dante, realizes that he's wasting his life and needs to go do something with himself.
Yeah, so he decides that he needs to like start a business or go to college or do something capitalist with his life. Like
Yes.
basically, the movie is basically okay. So you know that thing where your dad sits you down and is like, "Why aren't you applying yourself, son?"
Yeah.
When you're like smoking too much pot. It's literally like Kevin Smith sits you down and is like, you know, if you really want your dead-end life to stop, you should just go to college.
But it's coded as a leftist thing, which is really weird.
Yeah, well, it's coded
So-
as a punk thing,
Like
which
a
is
punk
really
leftist thing,
weird. Well,
despite it being just right wing propaganda.
well, okay, listen, things just being kind of punk in like a affect way has been around. The Sex Pistols are
Right.
punk, right? But ultimately right wing. They don't know anything about anarchy in the UK. So
Right.
the fuck are they talking about?
They just want to,
right.
get drunk and do heroin.
Right. So, well, and ultimately, I mean, you have to look at it like this. Like, sure, Kevin Smith probably was working at a convenience store at one point in his life, and so he kind of relates to or understands what that vibe is. But also understand that he, like, was given a loan, Donald Trump voice, a small loan of $1 million to make this movie. So clearly, he is not, the self-made person that he is portraying himself
Yeah.
to be in the character Dante.
Right. Well, the reason I say it's left coded is the voice of reason. The character is supposed to be the voice of reason and like the
Is
wise.
Kevin Smith.
Well, no, it's
Right?
no Randall.
Oh, okay.
Randall's supposed to be
fair.
like the truthful character, and he's
The
like
honest best friend.
yeah, and he's wearing like a Soviet Russian or not Russian Soviet hockey jersey when they play hockey and stuff. So he's
Right.
like, and he's constantly talking about workers' rights and shit.
Yeah.
And so it's like, be it intentional or not, he's in there to give a to
He
give
possesses
some
a sarcastic activism
yes.
in him. Yes.
It's anyway, and so that's Clerks.
Well,
Mal-
hold on. Real quick. We got to do good and bad. Good about Clerks is that you get a general sense of like what the vibe must have been to work in a convenience store in the 90s, sure. But also if you've ever worked a dead-end job or you've ever thought that your life wasn't amounting as much as you wanted it to be amounting to, this movie kind of can speak for that.
Yeah.
If you're open to that. But at the same time, you can also read it as bullshit because it's made like by, a white dude with a bunch of money. So,
yeah.
which is fair. But the bad about it is that the whole movie is spent yelling at women and punishing them and slut shaming them.
Yeah.
Which is fun and awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the whole fucking movie, Dante is just like yelling at women.
Well, so just as a general rule of thumb, any Kevin Smith movie with a woman in it has extremely problematic takes.
Well, yeah. So Kevin Smith's bit is he just like grabs any one of his friends and it's just like ding ding, get in there and beat the woman up.
Yeah.
Like so it's just Mallrats. He's just like Jason Lee, it's your time to go yell at women. And then like next he's like Ben Affleck, get in there. You know, it's just like every movie is the exact same. Like I got a problem with my girlfriend. She's a bitch.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, this is like blue collar comedy.
But it's
tour.
even it's like
my wife.
It's always like the girl is like, hey, you need to stop.
You should apply yourself and stop being an asshole.
You should stop being an asshole and like not play Sega all day.
And he's like, is this because you've sucked 25 dicks?
Yeah, and they're like, hey, why don't. Hey, can I, why did you make me sleep underneath your bed that one time, And he's like, why are you being such an asshole to me? What did I do wrong?
Right. Well,
Fuck you, bitch.
Well, and yeah, and you're just like, he's gonna punch drywall, and this is a comedy.
God damn it, Kyle, chill out.
Exactly. So, like, you get this like general vibe in the first movie of Kev's where you're like, well, he's gonna age out of that male anger. and go into something a bit more mature. No.
It only gets worse.
Everything that you seem to like about Clerks dies at Clerks.
Yes.
Everything else about Kevin Smith, the dick jokes, the immaturity, the weird right-wing kind of attitudes.
Yeah.
The racism.
Yes.
And the blatantly, I'm going to offend you.
Well, Clerks only has, if I remember correctly, one racial slur, which is
thank God for that.
Which is the number only goes up.
Well, and the great thing about the racial slur in Clerks, if I could say there's a great thing about it, is that it happens at the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
The movie is about to sell it to you, and you're like, you know what? This is a pretty solid 5 out of 10 movie, minus all screaming. And then Jay comes in, says a racial slur, calls somebody a faggot, and leaves.
Yeah.
And you go, well, there it goes.
Anyway.
And down we go.
Okay, so second movie, Mallrats.
Oh, Christ almighty. So we watched this last night, and oh, Lord. Okay,
the
go.
movie is about two absolute assholes.
Jason Lee and guy from the 90s who didn't end up having a massive career.
Girlfriends dumped them for very valid reasons, and because they're massive fucking assholes.
Yes.
And
they deserve it.
Then they spend the whole movie moaning about how it's the girl's fault.
Yeah,
and
women
not
are
theirs.
problems.
Yes.
And they want to fuck everybody that moves at the mall.
Yes. I mean, there's not really much to the movie. They end up getting their girls back because Kevin Smith's problematic.
There's a part where Jason Lee rapes a woman in an elevator, and then she likes it so much that she takes him back.
Yes. There's also a character who shows up, and the guy who rapes the girl is like, hey, this is my friend. She's 15. She's writing a book about, male sex habits between 15 and 30. And she sleeps with a different man every night between the age ranges of 15 and 30, records them, and then, is writing a book about their sexual habits. And it's like, she's 15, you stupid fucking pedophile.
Well, there's that bit, and you're like, oh, it could potentially be clever, right? It's like, no, hold on now. Imagine the bit is she's like, yeah, so guys don't give a shit that I'm 15, and they try to sleep with me anyway. So I'm documenting every time an asshole tries to sleep with me. That could be a good, funny bit. But that's not what they do. Instead, they're like, yeah, I'm 15, and I fuck 30-year-old men all day long, every day, which is totally okay and fine. And then Jason Lee is like, well, if you fuck all these other men, clearly you should fuck me, right?
Yeah, the movie thinks it's awesome. Like
the movie thinks it's fucking awesome.
It isn't a critique of the sexualization of
children,
of, like, teenagers in our society.
Yes,
right. Because there's very valid critiques about how how society over sexualizes teenagers and young women.
I wonder if Kevin Smith is one of those guys that's like, did I trigger you? Like, I wonder if he's like that.
Yeah.
Because like genuinely, I wanna know what the fuck he was thinking here.
So I checked out immediately. But then even in the movie, they have a scene where they play one of these sex tapes
with Ben Affleck.
With Ben Affleck, yes. Ben Affleck's a pedophile in this movie.
Everybody's a fucking pedophile in this movie. This movie is a pedophile party.
I checked out of this movie almost immediately.
This is like Epstein's fucking island.
Yes.
Well, and here's what's funny about it. This one's produced by Universal and not by the Weinsteins. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you would think if any of these movies were produced by the fucking Weinsteins, it'd probably be the pedophile one. But oh well.
And okay, so then there's Jay and Bob's Adventure to whatever. Or Adventure.
That's exactly what it's called. It's Jay and Silent Bob's Strike Back.
What? Okay. I don't.
Anyway, it is Kevin Smith's attempt to do like basically
a road movie,
a Star Wars-esque road movie plus comedy.
It just it feels like every other comedy from the 90s.
It's the worst movie ever made.
Yes.
Well, so okay, Mallrats, unacceptable.
Yes.
And Kevin Smith goes on to make more unacceptable movies, but Jay and Silent Bob is unacceptable because it is not funny ever.
No.
Like ever. It's always the worst idea you've ever seen, and it's like movie 43.
Yeah. Well, and
So
so
good.
all of his movies have the characters Jay and Silent Bob. Silent Bob is him, and Jay is his best friend. Like
Who
just
is
in real life.
who I think is like a psychopath, self-admitted rapist.
Yeah. So,
I think he's literally been on stage before, and he's like, "So one time I fucked this girl without her consent."
yeah.
So they
So
were like, "Awesome."
they're in Clerks.
I'm pretty
But
sure that happened. I'm gonna Google that. Keep talking.
in Clerks, they're just weed dealers who are kind of obnoxious, but in a funny way. In a like, hey, these like fucking young dudes just are like hanging out in front of the grocery store, like being weed dealer jackasses and just being little obnoxious shits. He then goes, and no matter like what movie he's making, the two characters are in, and they like the movies then just become like excuses for him to have a Jay and Silent Bob bit. And so
Right.
so Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back or whatever is, I missed the first half, but if I collected from context,
You didn't miss
context
much.
clues, they fall in love with diamond thieves who convince them to try to rob a pet store so that the jewel thieves can steal diamonds.
Yes.
And they end up with a orangutan, and the movie just becomes them running from Will Ferrell, the cop.
Well, and I think the movie asks a very important question, which is, can Jason Mewes carry a movie? And the answer is absolutely not.
Well, and this is also
Absolutely not.
They did this a little bit in Mallrats, but this is where he really starts just the entire
Being
movie
unhinged and unokay.
unhinged. The entire movie is a reference
Yeah.
to better movies that he doesn't like,
Yeah.
and is trying to get you to be like, yeah, that movie's stupid, when he's actively making the dumbest fucking movie you could possibly
Imaginable.
imagine.
Yeah. Well, and okay, so I Googled the whole Jason Mewes thing, and so there's nothing like official about this, but I will say that so I've met Jason Mewes a couple times. I'm gonna just throw that out there.
Okay.
I've also met Kevin Smith a couple times. I once saw a live podcast show where Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith like got up on stage, drank like 6 Red Bulls, and talked about their sexual escapades. And it was some of the most horrific misogyny
Yeah,
I have ever heard. So, regardless of whatever allegations exist that are formal, I will say that like Jason Mewes comes across as a big like predator energy.
He worked in the circle of Harvey Weinstein, and like legitimately,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Harvey Weinstein encouraged people to do what he did as like leverage over them, because like Harvey Weinstein had a fucking like empire.
I don't know. I
You don't
mean,
know?
Like
Okay. Hear me out on this. Can you imagine Ben Affleck trapping a woman in a hotel room and masturbating in front of her?
yeah.
Can you imagine Kevin Smith doing that?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Jay doing that?
Yeah.
Can you imagine Quentin Tarantino doing that?
Yeah.
Who, like, yeah, I mean, it's just like Harvey Weinstein surrounds
Everybody
himself.
that Harvey's near.
Yeah.
It's just
So
they're
it's
all, they're all weirdos.
I think that the Weinstein and Hollywood, the Weinstein people in Hollywood have tried to push this narrative of like, oh, it was just kind of
It
Harvey
was
Weinstein.
just him. Yeah.
But
it
it's
was
like,
kind of, I mean, it
you
was the
should-
stuff he was greenlighting too.
Yeah, well, go listen to like the Behind the Bastards on Harvey Weinstein, and it's like he had a fucking like
Everybody
like
knew.
a rape mafia. He
Yeah,
had
everybody fucking knew.
He had he had this whole system with this like all these fucking people whose job was to help him rape people.
Yeah.
so it's
to
like
keep it accountable.
and so it's like
unaccountable for it.
when people are making movies that he's paying for about this fucked up misogyny.
Yeah.
And
it's
it's
to
like
justify his behavior
Yeah,
off
it's-
screen.
and it's like, wow, I fully believe that Kevin Smith is a absolutely fucking nightmare rapist.
based on his actions and the things he puts in his movies.
And the company he keeps.
Yes.
Anyway.
So
with
that,
that-
well, okay. It's important that we do this because, like, when you make this identifying moment, right, where we're vibing, watching these comedies, and then we all look at each other and go, "Oh my God, is this movie just a giant rape monster?" And then you watch any other Kevin Smith movie and you go, "Oh my God, all of these are giant rape monsters."
So, yeah, and then so that brings us to Dogma, which is my favorite Kevin Smith movie.
Because
if I had to choose,
don't
one.
think it features any rape scenes.
No,
which is very good for Kevin.
It still has horrendous takes about women.
Absolutely,
but it's a lot.
It's also just got bad takes in general.
It does, but the takes are less. The takes on women are less bad than in other movies.
It's clearly a movie where he went, "I'm not going to make a movie about man pain. I'm going to make a movie about God."
Yeah.
So thank the Lord above that he put his "I'm going to punch a drywall" away.
Yeah.
To make a movie that wasn't about "I'm going to punch drywall and fuck 15-year-olds."
Yeah. So Dogma is about two angels who God kicked out of heaven. They've been trapped on Earth, and they figure out
that is Matt Damon and Ben Affleck,
yes.
by the way.
And they figure out
Miramax.
That if they walk through this specific archway in this church opening, that
run by George Carlin,
yeah, their sins will be forgiven, and they can go back to heaven. Unbeknownst to them, that will cause all reality to collapse in on itself, ending the world. So God selects a woman to go and stop them. She is guided by Alan Rickman, Silent Bob and Jay, and Salma Hayek.
Salma Hayek.
Yeah. And so they have to go stop.
And they're a Star Wars band doing a road trip movie.
Yes.
It's basically, every movie that that Kevin Smith makes is either Man Pain or Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, and so this movie is weird because half of the movie is the most obnoxious, stupid, shitty stoner jokes, like I want to fuck this woman. You're my girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Kind of shit. That's just the Kevin Smith special. But then the other half of the movie is
I remember there is a rapey bit now. At the very end of the movie, when they're all about to die, Jason Mewes pulls his dick out.
Oh yeah, he's like, well, we're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die, so start sucking my dick now.
Yeah.
You said you would. Now do it.
Yeah.
And so
even though the character never said they would.
Well, okay, so I was watching that. Not to keep rattling on about this, but I was watching that Bill Cosby doc that somebody did, where they were analyzing his comedy, and they were he makes an awful lot of jokes about Spanish Fly.
Yeah.
What's that about? And then they looked into it, and it's just date rape. And they were like, oh, so he's been joking about date raping people since the goddamn 70s.
Yeah.
And then, and so you watch this movie, and you see the moment where Jason Mewes just pulls his dick out, and you're just like, okay, that's one of those moments where I'm gonna file that one later.
Yeah.
When we learn that Jason Mewes can't stop pulling his dick out, I'll go back to this.
Yeah. So, anyway, so in Dogma, the half of the movie is the stupid stoner jokes, and the other half is Matt Damon and Ben Affleck actually discussing really serious, deep theological,
from an insider perspective,
bits from an insider perspective, and it's
Catholic,
and it's not the kind of theology that you talk about, after you've Googled it. It's the kind of some of the stuff they talk about. It's the kind of theology that the times I've heard it talked about is when I was having lunch with people who had doctorates in theology. Right. So they're not it's really weird because he's both wrestling with some really highbrow theological concepts and then immediately jump cutting to his best stoner friend wanting to fuck a girl just because she exists.
Well, so Kevin Smith has a postmodern sensibility, which I fucking hate, but no meta-modernist bone in his body. So when he makes a movie, he's like, oh, well, I'll make a movie about theology from an insider perspective, but he never looks at it from a meta perspective, a totally meta-modernist perspective, where he's like, well, what about religion as it exists philosophically.
Right.
Or metaphysically.
Right.
He doesn't really consider that. He just is like, well, this is what the book says, and I'm gonna make jokes about what the book says.
Yeah.
And it's very it's accepting of the way things are.
Right.
It's kind of like teasing the ability to rethink it without ever giving you the possibility of thinking outside of it.
It's like it's like Father John Misty discusses theology.
Pretty much.
Anyway, so that's just that whole movie. And then what was the last one? Clerks 2.
Oh yeah,
Fuck.
the worst movie I've ever seen in history. So okay, I mean, we're gonna bitch about this for a hot minute,
Yeah.
and then
this is like
this one's the pinnacle of oops.
So remember when we talked about Randall?
Oops.
When we talked about Randall as the sarcastic voice of reason.
Okay. There was a moment in this where we were sitting down watching this, and the first 15 to 20 minutes of it, we were like, wow, this is really mean-spirited.
Yeah.
And then about 30 minutes into it, everybody in the room's jaw dropped to the floor, and we about got up and left,
Right.
our own living room.
Yeah.
We were like, oh my God. It was so wrong. I was like, my head spun.
So Clerks 2 is set 10 years after Clerks 1. And
Supposedly.
Allegedly. And so all of the I'm gonna be my own man and do my own thing stuff didn't happen. The only reason he stopped working at the gas station was because at the start of the movie it burned down. Mm-hmm. So then him and Randall go and work at a fast food joint.
I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
Yeah. And so working at this fast food joint, Dante has a serious fiance that he's about to move to Florida with and pursue a successful life.
Which, as you know, a crime and bad to do.
Then he falls in love with his manager at the fast food restaurant and just torpedoes his life. And
chooses willingly to remain in New Jersey.
Yeah,
because that's where his heart is, right? I know that we're gonna bitch about it, but at the core of the movie is about staying put.
Yes.
And accepting your role in the world and
Yes.
not ever wanting more.
So they borrow money from Jay and Silent Bob, who are also characters in this. Like they're in all of them, and they fucking suck. So they borrow money from the weed dealers that they spent 2 movies trying to get to fuck off from in front of their storefronts.
Yeah.
To open the
convenience store
bodega
as their own business.
As their own business.
So their own bodega. Huh?
Yeah. And it's so anyway. So I think most of our complaints in this are going to be about Clerks 2. And everything that we're going to complain about in Clerks 2, you can see in his earlier movies. He's just not blatant about it. But
Right.
Clerks 2, Randall, who in Clerks 1, Randall is an absolute asshole. But he's also
but he's right.
But he's right, and he's also trying to help his friend Dante.
But in this movie,
he's
an asshole and he's wrong.
He's
unquestioned.
He's a high school bully the entire movie.
At best.
In Clerks 1, he doesn't he hates customers and is a dick to customers.
But they deserve it.
But they're he's a retail worker and they're customers. But to the people the people he cares about, he's an asshole, but he also is looking out for them.
Right. So he makes fun of the autistic nerd kid that works at the movies with them. So they got a job at a fucking burger place because the bodega burned down.
Yeah, and so he just relentlessly, the whole movie is just relentlessly mocking this the nerdy Christian kid you work with. But it's just so fucking mean-spirited where it's not even funny making fun of. It's just
every
scenes
time
and
he's
scenes.
happy, they punish him.
Yeah, it's he's yeah, I like Transformers, and then he just fucking berates him for liking Transformers
for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and Lord of the Rings, he's Lord of the Rings is gay ass and lame and fag bullshit.
Yeah,
fuck you for liking it.
Yeah, it's just where's the Randall who who was a dick, but also cared about people, right?
Right. Well, and because like I see this movie completely different than Kevin Smith sees it. Like based on my own knowledge of the character, I would see Randall as kind of taking this kid under his wing.
Right. Yeah. See, and I'm like, I feel that I empathize with movie one Randall, because I also like feel a lot of this, like it's like when someone's like, you know, if I'm working with someone and they're like, you know, I'm working with them, like I'm on their side, like they're my friend, you know, I am like just you know, stripped away from all of my like, you know, what I cognitively know I'm supposed to interact with people. I'm just kind of like that kind of like, you know, that kind of asshole where it's like, you know,
Right.
hey, you know, here, just truth, like 100% truth, you know, kind of, I'm just gonna be a dick and call you out, but it's because like I care about you or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, you know, I think there's a heart of the like someone who's just so fucking weary of capitalism and living under it, you know, that they have no time to bullshit.
Yeah.
But then they just turn into like someone who is just a fucking asshole for no reason. Where
Right. Well, you would think that Randall would be like, you know, this kid, I understand. This is his job. He's trying to make money. But instead he's like, you ever had pussy, boy?
yeah,
No? Well, then you're a faggot and a virgin faggot.
yeah.
And you're like, wow, Randall.
Well,
whoa,
there's,
now.
there's a bit in Clerks where he like watches trans porn.
Yeah,
And he's like,
this is fucking awesome. Look at these. These girls have bigger dicks than me. This is fantastic.
yeah,
That's literally a line that he says.
But
Now, if he saw a trans woman in Clerks 2, he would be like, that's a man in there. You know,
Yeah.
he'd be that asshole.
Yeah.
He absolutely would.
will be.
It doesn't make
Do you
any
think
sense.
that because of the homophobic rants that they go on in the movie?
Oh, it could be that.
yeah. Well, and the racist rants. Well, anyway, okay. So
We haven't even gotten there.
I want to do the ad break.
Okay, we gotta do the ad before we start talking about the racism, and we are not gonna say the things they say.
No.
I'm sorry, but we are not gonna do that.
No.
No. I'm just gonna let that be in the air right now. No one
Yes.
will be saying those words.
No. All right.
Ad read.
Ad read. What bit are we gonna do this week, May? Thinking.
Hold on, I
You got it.
Well, partner, it's been a nice time on the dusty trail this evening, but I think it's time to retire by this campfire side.
Oh.
And maybe talk about our favorite products.
Well,
what do you think,
well,
cowboy?
partner, my favorite product while I'm rolling through these dusty
The
trails,
old dusty trail.
herding these cattle, is sitting down by the campfire, cracking open a can of beans, and playing some #iHunt
with
me-
the cowboys.
with the cowboys, with my homies.
We talk about how much we like to bang prostitutes and kill werewolves. Yeehaw!
My favorite part about iHunt is its critique of the of the capitalist traps like Uber and how they exploit the common folk.
Yeah, get on your horseback and saddle up the mule. You know, when I'm out on the dusty trail, sometimes I get real lonely and sad. So I like to pull out my old drawing from Ambient Dream Studios and unfurl it like a parchment.
You can put it on your horse so you can look at it while you're setting up your sleeping bag and going to bed.
Don't get it too close to your campfire now.
You can also buy leggings, which are great for when you're spending all day in the saddle.
Yeah, you know, you don't want to get chafing, scuffed up in there. Get in your boots. And sometimes when you're out on the dusty trail, you need to pull out your old rectangle and watch some fucking animated show.
And whenever I do that, my favorite thing to watch is Blood Thing.
Oh, yeehaw, buddy!
Yeehaw!
That's my favorite show. I love to watch that one over a can of beans.
And whenever I finish these cattle drives and I have a few extra pennies in my pocket, I like to go over to patreon.com/excrement.
Oh, is that where you could buy some shit?
Well, you can't buy some shit, but you can
some.
You can leave some money.
Listen, sometimes on the old Dusty Trail, I like to leave my money places for no reason at all. Can I do that with you at patreon.com/Nick? Okay, this ad read is completely gone to shit. Patreon.com/excrement is the. I'm gonna have to take a nap for the next 5 minutes before we can go.
No, we're
All
going
right.
back in.
We're back.
We're back. Okay.
That was eventful.
So, the biggest problem with fucking Kevin Smith is in the middle of Clerks 2. Randall calls black people a racial slur. Not the big one, but one of those
racial slur.
One of those minor 1940s, things that just aged out because they're really stupid racial slurs.
Well, and so the bit is that he said that his grandmother said that wasn't, she told him that, and in a way that wasn't offensive, so he never thought that was offensive. But
right.
Then when they're like, that's a racial slur, and he's like, no, it's not. Here's a list of every racial slur, and he says them right in front of black people.
Yeah, well, he's like, no.
Wanda Sykes, in fact.
He's like, it's not a racial slur. I didn't say the N-word, and he says it with a hard R, and they're like, you can't say hard R N-word.
And he's like, what's wrong with me saying hard R N-word in context?
Yeah, and he's like, and also here are a list of an exhaustive list of every racial slur ever.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm not racist, so I'm allowed to say these. I mean,
rattles
as a
these off. And then because he's...
Of course he does this in front of Wanda Sykes, a black woman.
And then because he's trying to retake the original racial slur, he writes it on the back of his shirt for the rest of the movie.
Now... what exactly does it mean to retake a racial slur when it does not apply to you?
When you are a white man.
Yeah, that's like saying, yeah, I've decided to, nope, there's no way I can do an example because it's just that race. It's just, there it is. It's racist, okay? I hate that this keeps happening to us, Neo, where we're like, let's watch a movie from 10 years ago, and then we go, uh-oh, racist.
Well, So I missed out on the initial watching of Clerks.
But then you caught up. We watched
it later. But Dogma was the first one we watched. Then Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Then Clerks 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then we watched Clerks 1 and then Mallrats.
Yes.
So I was going somewhere with that, and I just derailed myself. No, okay. So it's like, watching Dogma, it's like this guy's kind of a dick, and his stoner humor is stupid, but I like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck in it,
right?
Because
you like their general energy at this time in history.
Yeah, I just like how they talk.
Well, and I will say that there's a level of toxically masculine that isn't necessarily as rampant in the Matt Damon, Ben Affleck stuff in these movies.
Right.
Whenever it's Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes, and Randall, they're just like, what if racism and sexism... Oh, and also Jason Lee. Jason Lee is the ultimate... He's like Ryan Reynolds if he... in Waiting. He's like Ryan Reynolds in Waiting. Right. I was going to say that there's more to that, but no. Well, I mean, pretty much.
And so it's
Ryan Reynolds in Waiting.
It's I always, whenever Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are together, I always interpret them through the lens of Good Will Hunting. And so, in Good Will Hunting,
it always makes you happy because you know that one day Matt Damon's going to leave.
Yeah, well, and
He's very smart, you see.
Well, my favorite part about Good Will Hunting is actually just how Ben Affleck's character and Matt Damon's character interact. And how they're kind of shitty, obnoxious, toxic dudes, but also they are caring for each other in their own way. And the whole monologue where Ben Affleck is like you know what, or he talks about he's like every time the best part of my day is when I drive up and you don't in the moments where you haven't opened your door yet because maybe you fucked off. Like I just love that, that whole rant and stuff. And so I always just interpret Ben Affleck and Matt Damon through my love of Good Will Hunting.
Right.
And so it's like, in Dogma, I'm kind of like I have my blinders on because I just like
You're
Matt
just like,
Damon.
thank God they're
and Ben
here, but
Affleck.
goddamn, why is it a Kevin Smith movie?
Yeah, it's like why is Jay and Silent Bob in this fucking movie?
Yeah.
But then it's like as we continued to watch it, it was just like he just fucking hates women, and he like it just blatantly,
yes.
and it's like he hates it from like every movie he's made is the male manipulator movie, but like to the nth degree. It's
Right.
like if Scott Pilgrim or Fight
It's like
Club,
if Morrissey made movies.
yeah, it's like if they made like it's like if all these
Made
like
shitty 2000s comedies.
it's like if Fight Club was a shitty 2000s comedy,
Yeah,
where
it's
like
just like douchebag bro, like with Fight Club poster.
It's like-
thinks that women suck. The movie.
yeah,
It's kind of weirdly. They're also kind of weirdly incel-y.
they're all incels. Like
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, right? Is like they're all incels.
well, and it's just like
I mean, Jay and Silent Bob, right? They're incels.
yeah, and
That's the bit.
it's yeah. Well, and so it's like at the start of Clerks 2, I was like, damn, this is kind of reminding me of Eli Roth, just
Yeah,
this
'cause it was
this
just
like
so fucking
hatred,
mean. Yeah, you
and
can
this
just
like mean
feel
spiritedness,
the meanness.
and
yeah.
and then immediately they go so much further
Than Eli Roth
and
even
mean
went.
spirited.
Even though, okay, well, you
So-
haven't seen Cabin Fever, but
I haven't seen Cabin
there's
Fever.
some racism.
But from what I've seen of Kevin Smith and Eli Roth, I have to apologize to Eli Roth
Because Kevin Smith is genuinely the king of being a piece of shit
Yeah.
on screen.
So Kevin Smith takes the hateful cake, and I'm going to rescind some of what I've said about Eli Roth because he is not as bad as Kevin Smith. He's still shitty and hateful, and I hate him for that.
But he's not as bad as Kevin Smith.
But having watched Kevin Smith, he gets some brownie points for not being as bad as Kevin Smith.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. We've bitched about Kevin Smith for a bit. We talked about all his movies. But we didn't talk about Chasing Amy or Cop Out or we were only talking about his classics. Neo. His classics.
His classics.
We will be probably covering his other movies at some point. But the point is here, his influence is extremely felt. For instance, right now, we are podcasting. Kevin Smith is partially responsible for the mass popularization of the podcast.
Well, and also of Marvel.
Yes, and comic books as a mainstreamed idea. When people are like, comic books are for nerds and not for everybody, they're referring to the attitudes in Kevin Smith movies, pretty much. Like, you can pretty much... I find that whenever anybody is ever harassing me these days or saying some dumb dude bullshit, I just imagine they're Kevin Smith, and then I laugh, and I don't feel bad anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh, they're like 15 and they're an asshole and they think that tits are awesome and weed is cool.
Yeah.
Weed's cool and tits are awesome.
Yeah, they don't have a fucking
There's nothing wrong with
personality yet.
racism. Well, and it's just, it strikes of consequence-free behavior. It's just like, he's been just doing this shit for a hot minute and nobody gives a shit.
And it's like, in the real world, if Jay and Silent Bob existed and they acted like that, they would get punched in the face
by me.
by
I would
everybody, by so many times, right? It's like, there's a certain level of like, if you live in a society and you behave like that, you are going to be like punched in the head, and it's
I
like,
suppose the idea is that if you're in New Jersey, this is just how people is in New Jersey, and that's not how people is in New Jersey.
yeah. So
People aren't like that anywhere.
yeah. So it's just like there's an element of like, it's like you just need to get punched in the fucking face.
Yeah.
Like-
Well, and so this is a shining example of the permissive 2000s based on Weinstein's direction, right? So it's like obviously blame Kevin Smith and his cohorts for all of this, but also understand that this was enabled by Weinstein. And like, this is like, these comedies represent an ideology for a time period.
Right.
And that ideology is not gone.
No.
It's still there. And it's kind of like, if you want to break down the comic book gamer dude, you can pretty much just watch any old Kevin Smith movie, watch him punch some drywall because he can't fuck a lesbian, and there you go.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah. Well, it's just, well then.
It's literally that. Is there no more incel behavior than punching drywall because you can't fuck a lesbian?
Yeah.
I too would just lose my mind.
Yeah. Well, and like, we haven't even talked about how Kevin Smith hates a lot of very good movies and will complain about them in his movies.
A lot. But like he bitches about Peter Jackson like very seriously, but his complaints about Peter Jackson are like, yeah, those movies are just people walking for a long time. And it's like, bitch, your movies are people sitting down and yelling at women and punching drywall
and
for an
also
hour and a half.
walking. Like,
bitch, what are you talking about? You think your stuff is what you can't, if you're living in a glass house, you can't throw a stone, man.
right. Where it's just like, it's he can only communicate through the medium of like, hey, we both saw this movie. We it's like he doesn't have anything original
just
to
references.
say. So he needs you to like have seen other media for his movies to have content in them, because he just refuses to make his own bits.
Well, and so the thing I would compare these movies to the most is Tyler Perry Medea movies, because basically Jay and Silent Bob are Medea. And you trick an incel stoner into going to see this, and then you hit them with the like weird right wing ideology. Blame women for your problems.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. And also, if you attack a woman in an elevator and make out with her, she'll love that. That will not be something she hates and thinks is terrifying.
Yeah. Every male character in these movies are the epitome of I sent you a dick pic. Why won't you fuck me?
What's wrong? Why won't you respond? And
oh, you don't like unsolicited nudes, you fucking slut? It's like every movie is the pinnacle of that ideology and that attitude.
Well, and you're just like, God damn, who would want to watch this for like a significant period of time? And it was just like, damn, was the entertainment options like back then so limited that this was like considered avant-garde?
Right. Well, it's like
fuck.
At a job I worked at one time, they were like, we're gonna watch a movie there, and so someone was like, oh, this is like the funniest fucking movie I've ever seen. It threw it on. There was some like early 2000s road trip comedy where it's like these teens are like going through Europe before they go to college, like it's because the main character like had a German girlfriend who he like who his best friend gaslit him into thinking it was a dude, and so he like went on this rant and like broke up with her.
Ooh.
And then realized that he just like made a mistake, so they're going to go to Germany so he can go and like win her back in person. And so it's like a European road trip movie, but it's like...
Is it Eurotrip?
I think it is.
That sounds like some shit. I don't want to watch that movie.
But it was like...
Do not want to watch it.
Right, but I think it's just indicative of the comedy of the early 2000s, where it's all just so fucking hateful and like shitty and,
targeted. They're just like, grab a gay. Let's make fun of the gay for an hour.
Yeah, let's...
and it's like we talk about how Adam Sandler is just fucking unacceptable, right? Because he comes in there and he's like, fat people fall down and fart. And everyone's gay. What a loser.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, so hateful. But like Kevin Smith is not any better. Matter of fact, I would say Kevin Smith is potentially more dangerous because at least Adam Sandler doesn't give a shit. Kevin gives a shit about like the wrongest imaginable behaviors, like, and is dedicated to them and is trying to tell other dudes that they're okay and you should do them.
Yeah.
And so like every time a dude ever corners you in a room and begins jerking off and is like, what's wrong? I thought you would like it. Just think about that moment in Mallrats where you're like, oh, every dude who watched this and saw Jason Lee do that was like, oh, she's going to love this.
Right.
And so this is encouraging rape culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's encouraging rape culture. It's perpetuating rape culture. And it's also painting it as okay when it's a crime. And so if you do the things that happen in these movies, they are crimes
Well, it's like
against women, and they're wrong.
it's like that dude who's like dude, it's like women, like, they just want to be fucked. So if you just fuck them, they'll like
No
it even
is
if they
the
say
first
no.
yes.
Yeah.
No is the first yes. Yeah. It's literally no is the first yes.
Like the
idea.
movies.
Yeah. And it's not like there's only one. They're all that. And
Yeah.
so I can sit here and bitch about the fact that he says a bunch of racial slurs, like Randall says a bunch of racial slurs, but the big problem with that is, A, Randall ain't that character. So Clerks 2 is irrelevant to me. It's literally just Kevin Smith using characters that he's written in the past to explain away his racism, bigotry, and misogyny. Once again.
Right.
So shocker for nobody. But the thing is, racism and homophobia and stuff like that, it's hard to sit here and talk about it at length because it's pathetic. It's fucking pathetic. And it's lame. And it's like the lamest kind of writing because you couldn't come up with anything better.
Yeah.
This is all you had, huh? And so if this is all you had for Clerks 2, why did you make Clerks 2? Oh, because he wanted to say these things.
Yeah.
So let's not pretend that this isn't something that, I know how many people are on a movie set, okay? It's not 10. It's not 20. It's like 40, okay, for a scene, okay? Even on an indie, it's a lot of people see something before it hits the screen.
Mm-hmm.
The behavior in these movies was seen by hundreds of people behind the scenes, and they were all okay with it.
Right.
They were all okay with it. And so there's this argument going on right now about, well, there's no ethical consumption, so what does it matter? And it's like the thing is Kevin Smith literally says it in Clerks 1. He said, there's a moment in Clerks 1 where they're like, well, so the Death Star, the real tragedy of Return of the Jedi is that they just kill a bunch of low pay contract workers, and they don't actually kill anybody from the Sith. So
Right.
it's like cruel and bad of the leftists with lasers to kill those innocent workers. And then a worker comes over and goes, well, look, I mean, if I was to go work for the Empire, knowing that they were fascists, I would accept that it was possible that I could get killed doing that because
Right.
I know that that's wrong. So, the thing is, all of those people that worked on this these Kevin Smith movies, and all the people that allow his behavior and are completely okay with his jokes and laugh along with his stupid, misogynistic rape culture behavior, they all knew what they were doing. They all were not stupid. They all were lucid, accepted what was going to happen because of the jokes. They were there, they shot them, and they thought they were fine.
Well, it's because of the fucking Weinstein culture. Like,
If they didn't think they were fine, they would have fucking walked.
yeah.
Easy. I mean, listen, I've worked a lot of jobs, but I'll walk a job if somebody does some racist shit to me.
Yeah.
If somebody says some racist shit in my vicinity, I'm gone.
Right.
So everybody on set knew what was going on and they didn't care. And that is the definition of American cinema.
Yeah.
Especially in this time. It's, I know that this is wrong, but I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just a stupid dick comedy.
I hate it.
Yeah, no, it's the worst. It's the worst. And so I used to mince words about this and be like, well, I know a lot of people like Kevin Smith, but no, the reality is his movies perpetuate a lot of rape culture. That's kind of bad.
They're rapey, they're sexist, they're racist.
And I'm trying desperately to find good things to say about them. And I genuinely, when I go do some cultural anthropology, I go do some digging, right? And I want to watch these movies. I watch them trying to see what the appeal was. And I hate the answers that I often find when I go looking because they're usually, unfortunately, simple.
Right.
And so in this circumstance, the answer is very simple. These movies exist because Kevin Smith, wanted to communicate that like rape culture stuff and like all the shitty dude behaviors like that college assholes do are completely fine and normal, and there's nothing wrong with them, and they continue a long tradition of doing so in comedies. I mean, fucking Animal House has like a 15-year-old girl rape scene in it, like almost, and it's like played for laughs, right? So like this kind of shit be happening.
Right. Well, and it's like, when someone is the director, the producer, the editor, it's on them, right? It's
Right.
like,
If you're going to put your name all over it, then it's you, man. It's
Yeah.
you, bud.
so fuck Kevin Smith, fuck his movies, fuck his sense of humor. Like, just fuck him. Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, so now real briefly, he he had a kind of a bad time, right? He's a complainer.
no, is he?
Yeah, he's
Oh,
he's a
shocker.
complainer. Like his podcast is him complaining about different people he's worked with in his career, and that's about it. Like that's all he does. He has no real charity or respect for the people that he works with. He is like constantly talking shit about everybody, and that's kind of his bit. So, this got him in trouble. Finally. Uh, so we watched all of these movies, but then there's this little post bit where, so there's like Chasing Amy, very popular movie about how a guy can't fuck a lesbian, so he has to punch drywall. And then like that ends up in the Criterion collection because Criterion loves it when people punch drywall over women. And haven't you seen Marriage Story? It's still going on. The punch and drywall thing, man. What's up with that?
What's up with like
God damn it,
people
woman.
making
Bam.
movies about Kyle's,
Justifying people being Kyles, yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Why won't you masturbate and let me play Xbox? Gah.
Right, come on.
Come on, just like clean my room and do my dishes and take care of me. I'm not that unreasonable.
I'm never gonna shower, but go fuck yourself, But
I'm never gonna shower and you need to suck my dick.
yeah, and I don't care how bad it tastes. Yeah, but I mean, Kevin Smith's wife, Jennifer Schwabach, still gargles his balls and drinks his cum or whatever. That's what he said. That's the tweet. Let me find the exact tweet while we're continuing to talk about this. But let me find the exact, very good Kevin Smith tweet.
right.
As a matter of fact, I'm gonna just look up very good Kevin Smith.
All right, while you do that, I'm just gonna
Tweets.
inhale this paint
paint.
primer until I'm not as angry anymore.
10 years in and we bone like we're cheating on each other. With each other. A decade plus and her clit brown taint area still pones my dick. That's what Kevin Smith said about his wife.
Very, very tasteful, Kevin.
He's a wife guy,
Woof. God bless. All right, on that note.
Well, hold on.
Hold on. You have more to say?
I mean, of course I do.
Because I got to go commit paint-flavored suicide here in a second. So
Okay,
you better,
very
you
fair.
better hurry up.
Well, all right. So Kevin Smith, chasing Amy and stuff, but then he got his comeuppance because he made Cop Out, pissed off Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis mistreated him on set because he deserved it, and then Bruce Willis like clocked the fuck out. They made the worst movie ever made. Like Cop Out is so bad. And of course, Jersey Girl is also spicy and fun. Lots of punching drywall in all these films. And then he started his podcast empire, went to like reality TV, made Comic Book Men, basically a show about his hack friends stealing money from enthusiasts like Pawn Stars, which is great. And they did 8 seasons of that, some bitch, because there is no God. And then he got an idea to make a horror movie about the gay experience. And that movie is called Red State.
Huh.
And that movie is a horror movie about the gay experience in America. That was verbatim why he made it. And so that was the first movie he ever made with a distinct purpose. Now, we have not yet watched this film, but I have seen it. And it was not very good.
No.
Not very good. I'm sorry to process judgment now. And then after that, so he made this very serious horror movie. People didn't like it. They thought it was pathetic because Kevin Smith made it. And Kevin Smith is pathetic. So he was like, well, clearly I can't do anything like super serious. So I'm just going to make a jokey joke horror comedy. Mm-hmm. And that's when he made Tusk, which is the most inappropriate horror comedy that's so unacceptable and super not funny that ever did get made. It's just a hideously inappropriate comedy. And then he made Yoga Hosers, a vehicle movie for his daughter and Johnny Depp's daughter to be convenience store workers like in Clerks, but in Canada. So he made Clerks in Canada with his daughter, with Johnny Depp's daughter. And neither of them can act, and it's the worst thing imaginable that God ever wrought. But luckily it's a whole movie. And the villain is some sausage Nazis played by Kevin Smith. It's embarrassing.
Sausage Nazis?
Yep. And so to wrap it all up, he also has made a Jay and Silent Bob reboot film recently where they are older. And let me tell you what, they're older.
I know I said I never want to watch another Kevin Smith movie again.
We're going to watch all of these, homie. We're not... What the fuck? You're going to commit suicide now? Dude, if I was committing suicide over something as minor as watching Kevin Smith movies, you would just laugh at me. Based on the bullshit that we've had to deal with in my life. Like, fuck Kevin Smith, but I'm not. No. You can kill yourself when we finished watching Tusk. That's when I wanted to. Then, only then can you die. So basically, this has been season 2, season poo. I can't believe this shit, dude. We've done 2 fucking seasons of podcast.
I thought we would do like 2 fucking episodes.
Yeah, and then you were gonna be like, "Ooh, Elden Ring's out." But then no, you give a shit. Surprisingly, Neo gives a fuck about the podcast.
Yeah, I
Look
do.
at this. Well, throw us some support.
Right.
We've done a couple of seasons of this shit now. We're gonna go watch some more Kevin movies and move to Colorado. So I'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.